I went down to my mum's the other week, and when I came in she had the TV on in the background playing some old black and white film. I found it interesting to remember just how quiet old films are. Apart from the dialogue, they're mostly silent, you know? A lot of scenes don't have any background or ambient music, they have a sparse amount of sound effects, and the space between characters speaking is often long and silent apart from the soft crackle that comes with old films. And the thing is, that's actually quite relaxing. It reminds me of Hayao Miyazaki. Miyazaki uses the term ma to mean the breathing space, the still, calm emptiness between moments of heavy action in films. Miyazaki's philosophy was that films need ma, that if they were all constant non-stop action we'd turn kind of numb to it. The breathing space is essential for us to really take in the beauty and feel of a film. And talking about ma is nothing new here on YouTube. People have done videos before making the point that films are increasingly non-stop and that Miyazaki's ma is an increasing rarity. I want to take the point further though, into video games, as you might have guessed from the title. But let's stick with films a moment longer first. Because there's a narrative about us, humans, our culture, and the narrative goes that we have increasingly lower attention spans. The way films have gradually become faster and more in your face tells the narrative that our attention span is getting worse. There's an idea that dialogue always needs to be snappier, faster, scenes shorter, the plot at all times needs to be driving forwards and keeping you on the edge of your seat. And all that does suggest a lower attention span. Either we're naturally getting worse attention spans and films are trying to match that target demographic, or films are becoming faster, more in your face because it'll catch our attention more, and that in turn has made our attention spans worse. That's not the point of this video though. I'm not knocking films for getting faster. My point is this. If attention spans are getting worse, where do video games come into this? Because the obvious, easy narrative to stick to is that video games make our attention spans even worse than films have done. That's one of the big criticisms that people continue to fling at video games, isn't it? There's one, that they cause violence, and two, that they make your attention spans worse. But do they? Obviously they don't cause violence, but our attention span? In the early days of video games I suspect it was true, hence this narrative has sprung up in the first place. Lots of games were fast and non-stop. The only real chance you got to relax during arcade games was either when the next level was loading or when you'd lost. Games have branched out a lot since then though. There's lots of different types of video games now, in the same way more and more genres of film gradually appeared, so some games nowadays are very difficult, some give you no rest whatsoever, particularly online games, you know, because you can't pause online, therefore the only breathing space there is in the lobby between games. But then there are other games, relaxing games, the sort of games people in the mainstream media rarely talk about. On the one hand, the rise of indie developers has meant a rise in more casual, relaxing games, because if they don't have the budget or the ability to compete with complex, blockbuster-style games, it naturally makes sense a lot of them would embrace simplicity as their strength, their USP. So suddenly you get games like Minecraft or Terraria, Stardew Valley that don't have the stunning effects and rapid action to grab your attention, so they make the game's ease the thing that will draw you in. Or database games like Football Manager, for example. No sounds, no rapid action. Even when the game's matches are taking place, it's still fairly relaxed. The game gives you lots of time to think and reflect and plan your tactics or your transfers, just as Minecraft gives you lots of time to build your perfect house. And Euro Truck Simulator. I mean, I went through a phase of playing that once because it was the perfect game for listening to audiobooks to. I had a load of audiobooks, I wanted to listen to them, but I felt like I might as well have something to do while listening, so here's this very simple, very relaxed game of just driving a truck around ordinary roads for hours on end. So, you know, maybe there isn't the film equivalent of Euro Truck Simulator anymore, but that's fine because video games have it. And then there's also the immersion side of video games. Somewhere along the journey, someone decided video games need to be more and more realistic every year. So rather than just skipping from one action-packed level to the next, now you spend lots of time travelling that open space from one level to the next. Elder Scrolls Oblivion was my main experience of this sort of relaxed style growing up. You know, you might enter towns and talk to people, you might occasionally have to fight off wild animals or go through dungeons, but you spend a lot of the time just walking around the countryside, listening to the relaxing music, enjoying the scenery and the dodgy jump animations. Nowadays we have Red Dead Redemption 2, I mean, think of how much you get in that game. It takes forever to get anywhere, which is both equally a criticism and a compliment. And I haven't played Death Stranding yet, but that's another example. Games have been increasingly giving us this breathing space. In general, they've been slowing down where films have been speeding up, and that is interesting. So is it a coincidence, or is there a genuine demand for slower, more relaxed games? Perhaps the rest of the world has gotten so fast that we need something to slow us down, and perhaps that then can also be linked to things like the rise of ASMR, for example, something that offers that same sort of attraction. Breathing space. Because Miyazaki's theory is we turn numb when there's no ma between all the action. Maybe our rapid lives, or increasingly fast lives, are the action, and the games have become the ma. That if we couldn't sit with a PlayStation or a PC or whatever in the evenings, we would turn numb. Certainly interesting to look at it that way. And if that's true, I would then argue that video games don't lower your attention span. Not really. That, in fact, they're one of the best tools we have to teach us the meditative beauty of stillness and slowing down. Video games are fantastically positive in my books. Chances are you already agree with me there, because probably 80% of the people that use YouTube are people that grew up with video games playing a major role in their childhood. They taught me navigation in having to learn how to make my way across Cyrodiil in Oblivion or Florence in Assassin's Creed or whatever else. They presented me with puzzles and problem solving, and they place moral dilemmas upon you much more than any other art form is able to do, since you literally become the one making the choices and living with the consequences. So similarly, they're a great tool for empathy, but breathing space, stillness, relaxation. That's what I've talked about for this video. Films may be getting snappier, but games are achieving the opposite. In my books, that's a good thing. So, slightly different video today. It's just something I was thinking about yesterday when I was having a bath. So I thought I'd share it as a video. Comment any thoughts if you think I'm wrong, or if there's things I've missed, or whatever. Like the video if you enjoyed it. As ever, thanks for watching, and hopefully see you next time.